It is Friday yet again.
It is, and we're
We're fired up, bro.
fired up,
Hell yeah, we are. How you doing?
dude. I'm ready to go.
I was ready to like remodel. I'm just stoked.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
Me
everything.
too.
So everything, it's like out of chaos, order.
Yes, something like
Yeah,
that.
it's
yes,
kind of.
Yes.
So, just a quick update. I paid $7,000 to the state of Texas
Oh,
earlier this week.
yes?
Oh, yeah. And I'll just tell on myself where it was like last week, I'm supposed to have the CPA call. And just because I get this way where like, I'm not doing it, I'm not paying. And then the CPA assistant or whatever, because we do our weekly Zoom work, because I'm still technically onboarding, which means I'm just effing a ton of stuff. She goes, oh, hurricane, I don't have good internet or good, and I'm like, oh, off the hook for that. And then this last, the other day, whenever I was scheduled to do the call, it was literally, oh shit, I got to do that. So I go in, and the first thing she says on the Zoom call, did you make a payment to something this morning? And I'm like, oh man, she's got it where it triggers. And I'm like, dude, this whole visibility
Yeah.
thing
Oh,
is,
yeah.
but
It's amazing.
I say all of that to say that there's something about as just angst ridden,
Yeah.
and as much as I wanted to
Yeah.
rebel after, but after it was done,
It's
it was
just-
like, oh,
Done.
not that I wasn't legit before, because technically it's not due till Monday.
Right. Well, there you go. Jeez, you're like 5 years ahead.
Dude, it's like my car's been inspected early.
There you go.
Yeah. So what do you got going on, man? Anything good? How was the
Man,
mastermind?
So we did our secret mastermind last week, which was awesome. It was so cool. I'm in such a diverse group of people. One of the guys, he has literally thousands of employees. Another one's running several companies all across the country. I mean, just really cool people, right, from all over. And man, it was. Here's what the cool thing is. So often, like, we might know an answer internally, but we need to get in a group of people to help us figure out what the answer is, right? And so many of these people also, like, we're a lot of people are surrounded by a lot of smart people, but they need some people kind of out. They don't really have skin in their game, right? To be like
The
I don't think it's
objective
gonna
third
work."
party.
Yes, like my job isn't on the line if you like me or not. So it's like
Right.
that plan's not going to work, and they're like, you don't think so? I was like, no, and everybody around you probably knows it, right? But nobody's willing to say it, right? But anyway, such a cool environment. So that was awesome. We got some coaches trainings coming up. We got Broker Boardroom in New York coming up. We got really good stuff.
Dude, I love it.
Yeah.
Well, and it's so funny too, just to be able to outsource or to get that objective third opinion,
Yes.
because it's like most of the time now, as I'm sort of rearranging, we're redesigning the plane in midair.
Yes.
We built the plane in midair, and it was off the ground, and we've been flying. But so like now I'm partnered with Lance, and it's like the Venn diagram there, to quote Kamala Harris, where
Right.
she loves Venn. There's a meme of her like where she says Venn diagrams like 1,700 times. I'm like, oh, dude. But it's like, well, Inspect 360 is like super wired tight and super
Yeah.
everything, and I'm not.
Right.
And so, but wait, there are like these parallel things that we do where inspectors deliver photos and inspection reports and PDFs and documents and
Right.
videos. And so I'm asking Lance, hey, assuming that you deliver all your content, properly, because for me, it's always just been a fire drill.
Yeah.
Now everybody, basically our system is everybody checks everything every night.
Right.
So that, which is like, it absolutely feeds the bulldog. But every once in a while, somebody's
Right.
like, "Oh man, I forgot." Then sometimes the eclipse lines up, and
Yes.
everybody. And so now that as I get spread more and more thin,
Yeah.
it just becomes like, hey, who's actually
Yes.
doing this?
Well, and like when you look at the progress of a company, and I think it shows at one point, but like most companies start in like the fun phase. And the fun phase is like, it's not necessarily that much fun, but it's like just everybody grab something.
Yeah.
Like, can we survive till Monday, right? It's like the first week on the job, But it's like usually like the first year, the first 2 years, whatever it is, where it's kind of like, hey, you got 3 or 4 people, and somebody's like mom's the accountant, and that guy Dave I know is like running this, and right, but it's like it kind of works. You're like, oh shoot, we can actually kind of make money.
Yeah.
Right. But in the fun phase, it's like all hands on deck, right? Like who's in charge of whatever? It's like everybody is kind of. But the thing is if you want to get to a place we call predictable success, you have to go from fun, right, through what I love to call whitewater. And
Yes.
it's about as fun as it sounds, taking your business through whitewater, right? And whitewater's like, okay, who's doing what? And we might actually need a checklist at some point. And like,
Just
here's the process, and we should have standards, and right, like it was all good, but like Joe keeps showing up in like ripped off jeans. Like, I guess we need some sort of a dress code now. Like, like it's like like fun was kind of fun, but fun phase isn't that fun for a long time.
Yeah,
like at some point I want to know the money's coming in.
It has an
I want to know the
expiration
stuff's
date.
getting done. Yes. And the thing is, I've seen a lot of companies, they lose a lot of people when they go through Whitewater because they're asking people to like, okay, follow the checklist and do, so it's like, it's different, but you have to go through that if you want to get to like that predictable success phase. But then if you get too rigid, then you get into like this thing that you can never turn the ship. Like Toys R Us is a good example of like something that got too rigid, right? It's like all of a sudden it's like we all love Toys R Us, but nobody bought anything there anymore. And like they knew what they needed to do, but they just can't.
They couldn't do it.
It was like Netflix, like there's what was it?
Blockbuster.
Like so big that they can't turn they got so rigid that they're out of touch with what's going on. So like that phase in the middle there is what you have to kind of teeter
I think
on.
I still owe Blockbuster money.
I think so too. I was trying to explain to my kid what rewinding was the other day, and like he just looked at me like I had 18 heads and was like came from the dark ages. Like, yeah, we used to have to, and I was like trying to explain to him, it was like, really doesn't matter. Let's just
But
let's go.
it was a thing. You put in another thing, and then you
Yes.
could actually watch the thing.
Yes, I was like, when you pause live TV and you rewind, you go backwards, and he's like, yeah, like that's what we do all the time. Like we talk, it's very confusing. Very
Dude,
confusing.
to be in today's world, bro.
Pretty amazing.
And when it's like I'm not sure if I'm jealous or if I'm grateful that it's like, well, no, because like we lived through the age of all the different physical media.
Yes.
Media.
Well, it was the greatest time in the history on Earth, based on our opinion.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes. Although I do have some empirical evidence to bear that out.
Yes,
Because
yes.
it was like, I think MTV came in and then I hit puberty like 5 minutes later.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, that's a big deal.
Yeah, somebody was making fun of Trump's speech the other day because he goes, hey, it's going to be the best 4 years of our country's history. And I was like, do you remember the early 90s? Or the early 80s? Like,
Or how about like 1946?
There you go. We've had some good times. You know what I mean? Like, there's been some fun moments in this country. You know what I mean?
Like 1946 would have been tough to beat.
There you go.
Just won the war.
Yes.
And nobody else has the bomb.
But I mean, what about the early 90s where we wore fanny packs and it was unironic? Like you were just wearing it because that was what
Did you have Zubaz?
I will not deny. I will not admit or deny anything.
Bro.
The brighter you were, the better you were.
Yeah. So speaking of
Yes.
confirming or denying,
Okay.
we've actually got the Hero Nation audience questions.
Questions coming
Yes, yes. And I was going to try to get it. Oh, maybe I can get away with my readers. I haven't set this to like old people size of font
There you
yet
go.
because it's like I'm not willing to concede that.
Yes.
So I'm vacillating between glasses and just the giant font that like you could read from across the street over my
Yes.
shoulder. 'Cause
Yes.
I'll be seeing somebody in like, I don't know, the Kroger, and they're looking and I'm like, dude, I can read that from over here.
Yes, I was in Nashville about a year ago, and me and my buddy were at this really cool hip place, being cool and hip.
You just
And
slid
then
right in.
the menu comes along, and he grabs his phone, he puts his glasses on, he starts looking at the menu with his phone light on. And I was like, dear God, Todd, can we please be in? Just ask her what her favorite thing is and get that. Like,
Yeah. Oh,
you
yes.
just blew our. I mean, not that our cover was that great, but
Now they know
now
for sure.
now they know.
Yes,
Yep,
now
I don't
they know
care
for sure.
how many cool Nikes you have on.
All right, here we go. Hero Nation. What are the top 3 qualities that differentiate a good entrepreneur from a great one?
Ooh, a good entrepreneur from a great one. I think I think a lot of it is vision, right? Like a great entrepreneur wants to actually build something that's sustainable. But I think a great entrepreneur, man, there's so many things. One is I think they have a lot of resilience, right? They're willing to get knocked down and keep going, right? So vision is important. Resilience is huge. With a great dose of they're willing to do what it takes, right? So not only they're resilient, they've kind of tallied the cost and they're willing to pay the price. But I think the third thing that came even at the mastermind the other day, right? They also have a high level of and it's such unique. It's a unique quality where they're driven and focused, unwavering, and they're open to input from others. So it's like they have high confidence and high humility, which is interesting,
Yes.
right? So they whatever if you give them feedback, they don't have to take everything like it came from the mountain, but they go maybe there's something to that. Like they're willing to consider. They're open to feedback. They're humble enough. with high confidence, which I think is a
Yeah,
really interesting.
and like
mix.
I would categorize that as self-awareness.
Yes. Yeah.
And
yeah.
usually you don't get self-awareness without like just getting your ass whipped a bunch of times,
Yes.
where it's like, I think I could take him. Oh,
Yes.
apparently not.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
that kind of a thing. And to that exact thing about outside opinions, or so Lance and I were just texting, kind of joking.
Yeah.
I was joking earlier about. Oh, you guys deliver content much along the way that we do. It's just a little bit drier, and,
Right.
and it's it's inspections, and it's like but there is an aspect of photo, video, and digital
Sure,
content. So it's
absolutely,
like
yeah.
when I'm realizing like, okay, all hands on deck all the time
Yeah.
is not there's a shelf life to that. It's like, okay, well, this person has been doing this 3 times as long, and with
Yeah.
equal fervor and
Yeah.
actual equal diligence, or actually probably way
Yeah.
more diligence, which is also another cool thing to realize, like, okay, intellectually, I can do X, Y, or Z, but that doesn't mean I'm really good at it, the execution on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And so there, I was like, hey, dude, this is what the current thing looks like that we're using as a delivery thing, but we actually have a Zoom call with somebody else at noon. And what are you guys doing? I'm like, do you actually have a human here in Texas that like looks at this? And then I closed it with, I'm not married to any of this, so I don't care. So don't think I'm trying to sell you on any one of these things, because I don't care.
Right.
I'm just stoked to actually get it moving forward.
Yes. Yeah.
And there again, that whole thing of the resilience, the grit, the ability to be like, I've been doing this, but where it literally is like, I'm not sure if that's the absolute best way, and there's a greater than zero chance that it's
Yes.
not.
Yeah. I'm committed to the result. I'm negotiable on how we get there.
I love it.
Yeah.
What is that thing? Strong beliefs loosely held.
Yeah. There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Hero Nation hits us one more time with, for someone just starting out in a business, what is the one piece of advice you wish you had received when you began?
I think that 2 things. One is like, do the math. Actually figure out, is this going to get you where you want to go, right? Like, get clear on where you want to go, and like, does the math, right? So I see a lot of people like starting, I'm going to start a team, or I'm going to start my own brokerage, whatever it is. And I'm like, well, here's, I guess, what are you looking to gain from doing that? Does the math make sense, and is there another way to get the same thing you want, but in a more effective or legit manner? So I think that's one of it. And then the second thing is, like, it all works. Choose 1 or 2 things to go nail, right? So like, you guys could do 100 different things, right? But you've chosen kind of the 2 or 3 that are the best and the highest, whatever it is. So FOMO is huge for entrepreneurs, right? And they're like, oh, have you started blogging on Instagram? And they're like, oh shoot, I wasn't doing that. So it's like they're trying to do 1,000 things.
Yes.
So it's like, choose the 2 or 3 to go get best in the world at. And then, if you want to add something else on, but
Well,
it's
I
like, you don't
still-
need to do all of them.
I still get, just from the simple standpoint of not putting out enough content.
Oh my goodness, yes.
And it irks me, because I literally have like terabytes of stuff.
Yes.
It isn't like the vast majority of folks that I deal with they want to, and then
Yes.
they don't know how to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, I've got, like the Library of Congress,
Yes.
where I have, I think probably in the one Dropbox account that we use for, sort of like the repository, there's probably 17 terabytes of stuff, and that's promotional stuff, not just for me, but for everybody that
Yeah.
we've ever worked with.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing that really gets me going, is to promote other folks.
Right.
But like, the one thing that I would tell anybody that thinks they're going to start a business is, actually, it's a combination of 2 things.
Our advice, the one thing, I'm going to break it down into 3 subpoints.
Yeah, exactly.
Focus on one thing.
Yeah, focus on one thing. And by one thing, I mean like 11 different components.
Yes.
Is that it takes longer and costs more than you will ever imagine.
Yes. Yes.
And then to spiderweb off of that, you don't know nearly enough to do it by yourself.
Well, truth to that. Yes. And that's the hardest way to do it, by the way. So get with others.
Oh my
And
God.
people go like, I don't need a coach. I can figure it out on YouTube. And I'm like, you can, right? Like, good luck, because my job as a coach isn't it's not necessarily to tell you something you could never figure out on your own. It's to like, hey, instead of you watching 200 YouTube videos to find the one that applies to you, it's me going, hey, read this one book, watch this one video, right? So your coach helps you get speed and helps you be a lot less beat up along the way.
And you're able to shortcut where if you dial them in on the right questions on the front end, you're able to shortcut to, like not to be, Pollyanna or whatever, but their why, because you hear that so much and it's like, I don't really have one other than I just like doing this. And it's that super cheesy kind of thing where like, I'm just competing with the older version of me or whatever. Well, it's like if you knew me before 36, you'd be like, bro. I literally have screenshots where people have found me on Facebook after knowing me in like the late 90s, early 2000s. And I have one. It's like I have to dig it out of my Google Drive. But the dude is like, dude, I'd have lost money that you were still alive, and just to have that and be like, oh yeah, that really happened, So like for me, there's an element of this where this is the bonus round or whatever, but that whole thing of how many guys do you encounter, or how many folks do you encounter where it's they think they want to do X, but it's really Q or Y, and they don't even know that. It's just some other arbitrary thing that they made up that they think is going to fulfill them.
100%. Or like what I see a lot of times is somebody did something. For instance, they built a team because they thought that's what they were supposed to do.
Right.
Or they did the whatever because they thought they were supposed to. So most people I encounter are the people that they call me. It's such an interesting phenomenon. They call me and they go like, it takes a while for them to kind of get there, and I usually kind of have an inkling where they're going, but it's like, life is good, my business is really successful, I'm not sure why I'm not happy.
Right.
Like
I just need more.
Right, like I built this thing, and oh shoot, I'm realizing it didn't actually give me what I thought it was going to get. Like whatever. So they're like almost like this crossroads of like, life is kind of good, but I'm really unsatisfied right now.
Yes.
I wanted freedom and fulfillment, and now I have money. But I have responsibility and I'm not making an impact, right? So it's like usually, so it's like, okay, how do we recraft this, reshape, whatever it is, which is what we work on, and it's beautiful to get them back in line. You know what I mean? I had a guy call me a couple days ago, runs huge companies on the West Coast. And he said, there's 100 people I can call, but I was really grateful that I could call you, right? And I'm like, what's going on? And he said, I'm really unhappy. And he goes, and here's what we got into though. He's having some tough things with some of the stuff he's working on, but like he stopped taking care of him.
Right.
And it's like somewhere along the way, chasing this got him away from who he really is, which is like fun, and he loves helping people. He loves making impact. So like, keep doing the work stuff, but like, what else do we need to do to get you back? And those are the cool conversations.
It's so weird that is like such a common thread now.
Yes. Yeah.
And you have like this sort of disparity between the people that get like super successful fast, which I think there's a certain element of kryptonite to that.
Right.
Because I know me personally, if I would have gotten what I actually wanted whenever I was like 23 or 25
you
or
would
whatever,
not be with us.
Oh, no. And I would have just left scorched earth and just like, I never had kids when I was younger because all I would have done was damage. Right. There was nothing I was bringing to the party that would have been positive. But now, and even this, like this slow kind of trek, up the hill, it really is about like all the people that you meet along the way. And I had like so much stuff dovetailed, even just in the last few months, where people that I've known for 10, 12, 15 years or whatever, all of a sudden are in a room with another bunch of people that I've known for 3, 5, 7.
Yeah.
And it's just like this weird convergence of stuff. And it's like, okay, one, I could have never planned that. So the suit up and show up thing is huge. So I could have never planned that, but thank God I actually did just show up.
Yes.
Whether I was invited or not, I would I would just show up. And then over time, the way that all of that stuff kind of comes together, and it, like I don't have the ability to think like, oh, what was the narrative thread other than I just showed up, and I guess I tried to be of value or whatever.
Sure, absolutely.
But that was never like a conscious thought, because I was always a net minus. I was just kind of used to that, but the whole thing of like the fulfilling aspect of just like even a couple of weeks ago, or no, actually a week ago today, see, it all runs together. But a couple of things fell in line to where I ended up accidentally bringing massive value to somebody that it was like, that I was that we were kind of already getting something from, but not in a manipulative way.
Right.
But it was like the things just lined up, boom, 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 where it was like, whoa, okay, that's
Yeah.
cool. And now they're like super happy, and this is like total game changer stuff. And then just leaving there going like, wow, what are the odds of that happening?
Right.
You know, because any of that stuff that if I would have tried to plan it, no way.
Correct.
No way. And so I think that dives back into, man, I'm having headphone chaos.
Yeah, so just too much hair. That's the problem.
Dude, you get your gimmick done, and then
there you go.
but it's like it ties back into that thing of where like, okay, I've done X, Y, Z. Why am I not happy?
Right.
Versus, I'm just doing stuff.
Yeah.
And then ... I'm happy. You know, and kind of letting the game come to me, which that was not how I was wired. And it's like there, I'm not sure if that's teachable.
And I think a lot of it's like getting clear on, you know, what's the life you want to have. You know, it's like that simple analogy of like, hey, we're at your funeral. What do you want people to say? What do you want that eulogy to read?
Right.
Like, what do you want at the end of the day? You know, what do you want your friends to have said? What do you want your kids to have said? You know, all this, but kind of get clear on like, what is that? And then go, what are my 2 or 3 main what are the things that I value that are the most important things to me? And then am I living life in alignment with that? And it might look different, right? One day it's like holding the door for somebody. The other day it's doing a video. The other day it's like having a really tough conversation because you care about somebody, right? Whatever. But like, I think it's taking the time to get clear on those things, and then, like you said, giving yourself a moment of reflection without taking something life altering, right? Like, how do I check in with myself? Like, am I happy with what I did last year? Am I happy with what I did so far this year? What do I want to do this next part? And just taking time to reflect.
I'm trying to be a little bit more mindful about quantifying stuff, or not even quantifying, but more along the lines of like looking. You know, because it's like having the CPA has been excruciating, yet edifying in figuring out like, oh, I never paid attention to any of this. It was just like, oh man, you know, just jump in and swim, you know, and just try to figure it out along the way, which, okay, there's an element of fun to that. But again, there is that shelf life of, okay, perhaps we should dial this in a little tighter.
Yeah.
And then there's something about the stress and anxiety that is produced whenever it's like, okay, we've gone from, we just call the play at the line of scrimmage to like, oh no, now we watch film and now we actually draw up plays and stuff. It's like, huh, okay.
And that's the difference between that fun phase and the predictable success.
Yes.
Right? It's like going from a hobbyist to like, I actually own a business and feel like more certain, secure, confident, excited about what I'm doing. Yeah.
Well, and this is, what is this, the 3rd Friday of July. So this is the 3rd week in a row that I actually paid myself.
Good for you.
Yeah,
Good for you.
according to the CPA.
Yeah.
And there was all the attached, you know, it went from 111 on the anxiety meter to like, oh, I'm gonna need that money tomorrow to run the business to okay, we've done this 3 times now, and everything is copacetic, everything is cool, and the accountant is and it's like, who'd have thought you'd ever like worry about is the accountant?
And you look at how much you're going to save in taxes and how much all the other things. And you're like, oh look, this like
That is
fun wasn't that much fun. Like fun phase wasn't that much fun as predictable.
I'll take
phase
your
can be.
word for the tax savings, and none of that has yet to manifest itself. So there's always that. We're like, what fresh hell awaits every Zoom call with the CPA? But I am. The other thing that and this is just me telling myself again. So it's like I'm really blown away by my peer group now.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know if anybody else could ever relate to that, but it's like I went from a place where, you know, if you're in the room with us, it's like, you might want to keep an eye on your wallet or, you know, or that sort of thing. Versus now I have friends, partners, associates or whatever that like really have their shit together.
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh wait, I'm invited. Now I got to, you know, so now there's something about this leveling up, and it's like, hey, I'm only 55. I mean, it's like, what do you want, man? So I say that to say that it's, you know, it's never too late or whatever. But it's awesome.
Yeah.
And even just to be able to do stuff like this
Yeah.
and to actually have, so like if I pull up another question, let's see what we got here.
It's so true. And like you said, like, you know, write down who you want to hang out with. And then second thing is like write down who they would want to, like who would you need to be for them to want to hang out with you?
Right. Well, that was kind of this thing I kept seeing you know, I guess theoretically I'm taking resumes for my future third ex-wife or whatever, but
I just need an assistant. So I'm taking resumes for a great assistant.
well, like, so yes, I probably need that more for sure. But the idea was like, we'll be the person, you know, become
Yeah.
the person that they would want to be with.
absolutely.
And it's like, ooh, that's a tough ask.
Yes.
You know? Okay. How do you keep yourself inspired and continually learning in your field?
I think it's two things. I think it's one, it is a lot of who you hang out with, right? Like hang out and spend time with people that are inspired. They're doing big things. They're figuring. So I think that's a huge piece of it. And then it's like that Jim Rohn quote, right? Like, you know, people say, you know, inspiration wears off. And he's like, so does showers. Like you have to do another one at some point.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I like that.
Like it's not like one shower, good.
Yeah.
You know,
or
good
or
to
like,
go.
you know, you're not going to eat one meal and never be hungry
Exactly, yeah. Especially in Texas, like 12 showers a day sometimes, right?
Dude.
You know, but I think that's the other piece of it is like realizing I've got to continually pour in the good stuff. And if I don't, like the bad stuff will just kind of seep in, right? So like every morning I watch a couple motivational videos or whatever it is. You know, I read a little bit of a great book and the people you surround yourself with. But I think the first click is if you're not feeling inspired, you got to pour stuff. You got to do the work before you feel the thing.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. I'm a huge fan or a huge believer in like move a muscle,
Yes.
change of thought.
Yes.
Where you're not going to think your way out of any situation that requires action.
Yes.
You know, it'd be like, I'm going to read a book on push-ups.
Right.
Woo. Yeah. Just you wait, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And so now,
It's like people that wait to take action until they're motivated. You're never going to do it, right? But action leads to motivation.
Yes.
It's like the feeling before you go to the gym and the feeling after you go to the gym, right? Like before you go to the gym, it's like and then after you're like, I'm so freaking glad I did
Yes.
that, right? But I think that's what you know, like high-minded people realize is the feeling follows the action.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You act your way into right,
Yes.
right thinking and right doing. And
Absolutely.
so there's something about that even like my guys or whatever, it's like, dude, there's a part of this. Yes, it's creative and it's cool or whatever, but it's also a job.
Absolutely.
And sometimes you just got to do the job.
Yeah.
And yeah, sometimes you're taking pictures of stuff that's just boring, you know, it's
Yeah.
just lame or it's boring or it has no connection to you and you're like creative energy or
Right.
whatever. And it's like, yeah, cool. Welcome to the actual real world on
Yes.
planet Earth.
Yeah.
However, there is something about that where after you do that repeatedly, it's like now, and my mantra is like evidence breeds confidence.
Yes.
And well, the only way to get evidence is to do stuff.
Yes.
And sometimes that means doing stuff shitty.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
where it's
Yep.
like, oh, wow, that sucked. You know, it's like, okay, perhaps I won't do that in that particular manner ever
Yes,
again.
absolutely.
Or I will learn from that. But there again, there's that thing of waiting around to be inspired. Dude, you're going to, good luck with that.
Yeah.
And now, I don't know where you fall on this scale, but you know, it's like I tell people flip out where they're like, I work 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Technically.
Right.
But the thing is, it's like, it's not like it got to a place where it's not like it's actual work. There are certain things, of course,
Right,
that
yeah.
like the CPA Zoom calls or whatever, I wish I didn't ever, like now the trick is like, could I get to a place where somebody else messes with that?
Absolutely, yes.
I'm now a big fan of delegation.
Yes.
Or now it's just a matter of like, okay, who can I get to just take those punches, to put the headgear on and go take that and then just give me the summary and, you know, but that's aspiration
Yeah,
on my
yeah,
part.
yeah.
And where are you on the scale of the more I do stuff like this, like what we're doing today, I called it Fired Up Friday because this actually gets me fired
Absolutely,
up as
100%.
rando as this is.
Yeah.
And as it started from the simple, really just the simple operating idea of, well, I need my guys to be able to run the stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
Play.
and
Yeah.
and then we jump on, and it's like I got you involved because I knew you wouldn't freeze,
Right.
and no matter where I drove it, like you got the winch and you're pulling it out of the ditch or whatever. But the trick was, I no longer have this has got to look a certain way or go a certain way.
Yeah.
I just need it to work. So then
Correct.
when people actually come and pay money, that everything works. But other than that, I just needed to be able to sit here and have the guys run the equipment
Yeah.
and make sure it all is
Absolutely.
operational. And then it turns out like, oh wow, this is the most fun that I have during the week,
Yeah.
and it's such a recharge of the battery
Yeah.
that But I didn't know that.
Well, and I think you got to intentionally put things in place. It's like put the railing up before you drive down the lane, in a sense, right? And like that's like we have our weekly fuel call, right, which is a group call we do every Wednesday. And it's for me, it's kind of like church. It's like the days I don't want to go is probably the day I need to be there the most, right? But it's like show up every single Wednesday for an hour and like get refilled up. Right?
Yes.
It's like cool. Here we go. Kind of like our Friday, like get filled up, and then here we go. But like put those things in place to keep you in. It's like take your medication so that you don't have the thing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You know, like take it consistently so you don't have the thing.
Dig the well before you're thirsty.
Exactly. That's 100% it. So I think so many people don't put those things in place, and then it's way harder to get back up.
Agreed. So now, what's next on the horizon or the schedule, or what can we solicit? What can folks join in on?
Man, the thing I'm enjoying the most right now is helping team leaders lead their teams. So I'm working with a lot of CEOs or team leaders that have big teams, coaching them some on their people, but then also giving them the things that they need to give their team. So I'm like, if I coach your team directly, like that's cool, but I want you to be the guy, right? I want to make you the hero. I want to help you be the.
So you're going to train the trainer.
Exactly, and giving them the tools and everything else. So I'm having a lot of fun with that. So if you're leading a team right now and you're like, man, I either my people are dragging or I'm having a hard time getting them focused, or they need to be doing more. Like those are people that I'm loving helping right now, getting the stuff right. I need to bring people onto the team, all of that. So I'm having a lot of fun with that.
Right on. Well, I do believe the universe rewards effort.
It does.
And every once in a while, it's like you get that little,
Yep.
that little road marker.
Absolutely.
Like this morning, so I'm texting Lance, or actually I text Miranda, the gal that's our studio operator in Tarrant County.
Yes.
I'm like, are you uploading files on Dropbox via Wi-Fi? Because it certainly seems like it takes a minute. And she's like, oh yeah. I'm like, ugh. Like, welcome to the digital content delivery world where, oh yeah, we'll mail it to you.
Hey, John the other day was doing this 3D rendering thing. They rented like a city of servers. He's like, it was like these two buildings were like 20.
Yes.
With this company, they paid like six figures to run this city of servers for like 3 hours to get this thing done. So like it'll render in like 18 days, and then it took it down to like, I don't know, 40 minutes or something.
Yes.
But it was insane. Isn't that crazy?
But like the universe rewards effort.
Yes.
So I texted Lance. I was like, hey, didn't they say something about like, jacking up the internet or whatever, blah, 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 whatever. Because on the way it is now, we can't live stream from over there.
Yeah.
But it's, it's like coming to you on tape delay. It's like boxing when I was a kid. It's like, it's midnight wherever. And then
Right,
it's like,
yes,
yeah. So I just throw that out there, and then like he texts me like 3 minutes later where it's like, oh yeah, it's already on the books for next Friday, blah blah blah, and it's like, oh dude, okay,
cool.
all right, never mind, like I'm like,
Yeah.
because of course I'm ready to gin it up into a massive crisis or whatever, but it's like, oh wow, it'll actually be solved next Friday, and I didn't really have to do anything but ask, and so, oh dude, I am so fired up to just to see what's next, because it's like this is so crazy. I mean, here we are in Studio USA East, while as we speak, Studio USA West is a
Taking
thing.
off.
And we're going to be on the DFW Real Producer Show soon.
Yes. Very cool.
So I will get that dialed in.
It's going to be awesome.
And until next time, next Friday,
That's it.
we're filled up. We're ready to go.
We're ready to go.
All right, brother.
Fired up.
Yeah.